Hey, my name is Dan Allen, veteran AppScript developer and owner of Allen App Tools. And today's episode is actually episode 2 of our series, Google Web Apps for Everybody, where I try to make Google Web Apps less complicated and bring them to you and explain them. And so we're building a mock-up web app for a company called Green Thumb Gardening Services. And so I thought it would be cool if we made a web app interface that a user can input products, and those products will be added to a database that we use a Google Sheet as the storage of that database. So there's a couple other settings I talk about today with Google Web Apps, so hopefully all that's helpful. And without any further delay, let's get into it. All right, fantastic. Let's get started. So what we need to do is a couple of housekeeping things. We need to add a few more script subfiles here in our main script file. We're going to create some HTML that's going to allow for a user to go into this web app and input a new product to their gardening services lineup. So this is going to be hypothetically a nice way to add new products, and later on, maybe we'll add in a feature to edit those products and update them and delete them. And so this is going to be cool because we are going to use a Google spreadsheet as our database to keep track of those products. We're going to use the web app as our internal tool to input those products and create new ones. So let's get going. So let's go to our deployment, test deployments, and let's open up our dev URL here. We can see, just like in the last video, we went over exec URLs and dev URLs. So here we have the dev URL. Next, since we have this open, let's do something here. We need to create our Google spreadsheet that we're going to use for our database. So, whatever folder you want, let's create a new Google Sheet, and we'll name it Green Thumb Database. Cool. And what we're going to collect in this initial part of the web app, let's just make it really simple, and let's get the product name, the product description, and a product quantity. Let's just do that. And let's make it so that the code will give a unique ID for every product that comes in. So the user just supplies the basic information, then the code, our app script, will actually come up with a unique ID for that item. Great, this is all ready to go. It's ready to start collecting information. So let's copy the ID of this spreadsheet, copy, and then let's go back in here. Let's create a script file, and let's call this globals. This is something that I've come to do with almost every single AppScript file that I create. I make a dedicated subfile called globals, and that's where I store strings, objects, arrays, Booleans, those kind of simple data. I do not store like a spreadsheet in itself, a spreadsheet object or a document object or a file object. Because those rely on permissions. And so let me show you. So I just have these defined variables that are, in the global scope. So we're going to call this database spreadsheet, SS. That's how I do it. And then ID. And so this is going to be our string ID of our spreadsheet database. So we've captured that. That's going to be really handy for us to use later. Great. Okay, so that's good. We still have just this as our HTML. So I had ChatGPT whip up some basic HTML for a form that collects the item name, description, and quantity. So I'm going to pop that in now, and then we'll review it together. Okay, so here it is. This consists of 46 lines of code. I'm going to go to our dev URL since I updated our HTML. I'm going to go here and I'm going to refresh. And it's going to show us our new output of our new markup. So we've got a place to capture the item name as a string, the description, and the quantity. Very basic. And at a later point, we may come in here and just spruce up everything, all the design, come up with like a dummy logo, all that stuff. This episode is more about the using the spreadsheet as a database and transferring information from a web app to a spreadsheet. So let's do that. So this is set up to do the entire functionality. Let's go over what this HTML is, and then we'll get into the really good bits with this right here. The magic happens right here, google.script.run. Okay, so we've got our title of the HTML. We have an H1 that tells us what this is. Add new inventory item. Let's change that to product just so everything is consistent. Inside of our form with the ID inventory form, we've got product name, which has an input, a required input to capture the product name, and the name of that value is going to be product name. Same with product description, product quantity, and then we have a button to submit, closing out the form. That's it. That's all that we've got for the actual presentation here. There's no frills. So here in the script, we're getting the form and we're adding an event listener when it is submitted, and then we're going to run this right here. This function right here is everything. It's all there is to it. We're going to grab product name, description, and quantity. We're then going to run google.script.run, which allows us to call the attached script file. It allows us to run code from the client-side browser through a very specific backdoor, an authorized backdoor, and we come to the actual script file and it runs the function there. This function is going to be run by the hello@AlanAppTools.com. It doesn't matter if team member Mike or team member Jessica run or on the web app. Doesn't matter if they are in their browser doing this stuff and they click. The code is not going to recognize them as the entity doing the actions. When we click this button and it runs all of this, which all that this is doing is it's just sending the product name, description, and quantity to the function as the 3 arguments. And that's all it's doing. This function right here does not exist yet. But we will be able to see, once that action happens, we'll be able to see in our execution logs on the app script file side, we'll be able to see addProductToInventory ran. Let's save. Let's now create this function right here. We're going to come back and do another round of review on what's going on in this script. But let's do this. We could add this function and have it live in the code. But I don't want to. I actually am going to rename this file just to do-get, because I want this subscript file to be as uncomplicated as possible. Yeah, okay. So let's create a script file, and let's call this HTML functions. Sure. And so the idea here is that we're going to have HTML functions be any function that gets called from the server, from the client-side browser, that does google.script.run. All right, good. So let's give this the name, addProductToInventory. Next, let's go back to the HTML. Let's just make this ultra simple and not change the naming at all. with these arguments, and we'll just pop them in here. And that's going to be good. So really good. Let's just see this in action, and let's have a return value from this, add product to inventory. Let's have it just return something and then see and just evaluate to make sure that everything is working. So let's just return a string, and we'll say add product to inventory ran successfully. So it's going to return a string. So let's evaluate what's going to go on here. What's going to happen? So anytime you call, last time I checked, okay, anytime you run google.script.run, you need to specify a with success handler. I don't think it used to be that way, but recently it was changed so that you can't just say google.script.run add product to inventory, here's the arguments, and then it's going to run, it's going to do it and then return nothing and do nothing with it. You have to have a with success handler, and what that is that's a promise, and it's going to take the response from add product to inventory. It's going to take whatever comes back from this, and it's going to assign that to whatever variable name you specify here, and it's going to execute whatever code is in here. So since it's a string, I don't need to stringify. I don't need to use JSON.stringify response. Our console should show us this right here. So if everything runs successfully, we should have a console log that says hello, and then a log that is the response from running our add product to inventory function, which is just going to be a string add product to inventory ran successfully. Let's give this a shot. So we made some changes here, which means we come to our dev URL. We're going to refresh. We will expect to see hello, and let's add a product name, test name 1, description 1, number 1. I'm going to click add product. It's going to run our function add product to inventory. It's going to run that, and then it's going to shoot us back the response. Next, we're going to evaluate that, and then we're going to come to our execution logs, and we're going to see that function that has. Now we're ready to see this happen. Click add product, and we see two important updates here. Net state changed from idle to busy. This means that it is running on the app script side, and it's waiting for it to finish. Once it finishes, it says we changed from busy to idle, and then we see our log. Add product inventory ran successfully. We're seeing that. And that's good, and now we have add product to inventory as the function that was run. Great. Heck yeah. And there's going to be no logs because we didn't have any logs in our function. So we can see that that's working now. Okay, so now is the part where we're actually going to add information. We're going to take the product information, which is coming to us in these arguments, product name, product description, product quantity, and we're going to append a row to our spreadsheet, which is really easy. Google Apps Script makes the authentication, the scopes, handling all that really, really easy. So let's do that. Let's define our spreadsheet, our database spreadsheet first. I'm going to call this database SS equals spreadsheet app.open by ID, and then we've got our global variable database spreadsheet ID available to us, and that's it. Next, we're going to grab the actual sheet by its name. I'm going to copy that, and we're going to call that product sheet. We're going to call the database spreadsheet get sheet by name. This is just how I usually do it. Great. Okay, cool. And then let's define the contents of the row that we're going to append, just to make it super clear. We don't have to do this. We could save code real estate by not doing this, but we could also make it a lot more clear and do this. So I'm all about that. So appendage row is going to be an array. And then we're just going to put product name, product description, and then product quantity. We're going to say product sheet dot append row, and then let's just return. Let's maybe return what row it was that was appended. Yeah, okay, that works. Okay, so here's a small nuance. We're going to do spreadsheet app dot flush. What this is going to do is it's going to basically be like, okay, spreadsheet app, we know that you are waiting to make 3 changes, 4 changes, 100 changes, whatever it may be. We know that you're waiting to the very last moment when all the changes are done to actually, boom, make all those changes at once. We know you're waiting. When we say spreadsheet app.flush, we're like, okay, just do it and don't wait. We still have stuff to do, but at this point, when we call spreadsheet app.flush, do all the changes that you're awaiting to do. And we're going to do that. We're going to flush because we're going to make another spreadsheet call to the product sheet, basically reviewing how many rows there are, which will tell us, append row just goes to the last available row. So we're going to follow that same logic, and we're going to go, okay, what is the last row? And we're going to return that number back to our web app to give it that information, like, okay, here's the row that was added. We're going to name it, okay, row number. I'm going to call it that, and then we're going to go to product sheet.get last row. In theory, that should tell us number 2. That should return to us a number 2. Okay, and let's just verify that that's a number and not a string. Okay, gonna have to come down to see what that documentation is. Yeah, integer, perfect. Okay, row number, good. Yeah, okay. Row number, great. So we're just going to return a number. Great. Okay, so add product to inventory is now complete. Here's something that's going to crop up. If we were to just go to our web app and try to refresh it, we're going to run into some problems. That problem is that we now are asking and requesting a whole other scope. Since we have spreadsheet app, and we're running the method open by ID, we can see, if we go to overview, we scroll to the bottom, we see project OAuth scopes. We see that this scope right here is now appears. You didn't know it, but this was not there before. So that's the scope. So we've got one scope requested. This is what it means. See, edit, create, and delete all your Google Sheets spreadsheets. Believe it or not, that's the minimum scope for spreadsheets. They don't have a scope for just viewing content, for just seeing the content inside your Google Sheets. So let's do a quick thing here. If I were to copy this, X, save, and if I were to go back to overview, there are no scopes because AppScript is reading the contents of itself, of its script file, and it's, anytime that it sees like the different methods, it knows what scopes belong to which of those methods, which is amazing. You don't have to do any extra steps. You just code, and if you add more scopes as you go, if you run the function in AppScript, it will pop up the dialog for the OAuth 2 process, and you just click through, and you're all verified and good to go with those auth scopes. So if we add this back in, and then if we were to run any function here in the editor, if we run any function, it does not matter. Here, I'll prove it to you. An empty function, if we were to run this, it's going to harken back to the scopes that is requested, and it's going to go, hey, do we have permission for these? Doesn't matter that we're not running a function that is requiring, that scope. It's running a function in the overall, environment. And so we need to authenticate before we can run any function at all. So if we run do nothing, we have our a dialog box, and we're going to need to click through them, which is super easy. We've done this before, and we see now that we have this scope right here: see, edit, create, and delete all your Google spreadsheets. Continue. And now we're all authenticated. So let's delete that. Now if we go back to our dev environment here, our dev URL in our browser, refresh, it's going to give us what we were originally looking for. So that's perfect. Okay, so one thing to note: a user, let's say that Jeff at allenapptools.com were to go to this website, and let's say that this isn't, we're out of development, we're all done, it's the exec URL, and they go to that production URL and they go to use it. If you are the authenticated user that this web app is running then it's only the things that you have approved, it's only your authentication that matters. It doesn't matter that Jeff or Mike at allenapptools.com or Jetska at allenapptools.com hasn't approved anything. They will not need to, because it's on your authentication settings. Okay, so let's add, and we will wrap it up here. So final leg of our journey today. So test product 1, and we'll say description 1, say quantity. We've got 12 of these. Here we go. Going to add product. We're going to review that it worked. We're going to review the logs, and hopefully there's no errors. So let's see. Add product, idle. It's busy, and going from busy to idle, and we got number 2. So row 2 was where this was added. That's great. Let's make sure that it actually worked. Sweet. Got it. I totally forgot about our product ID. I'm just going to delete that for now. Change my mind. What am I looking for? Delete cells, shift left. Money. Okay, so yes, we do need to add the ID behavior. Okay, so for the time being, this is what I want to do. I'm going to have a function and this function is going to return a unique ID. So I'm not going to build this how I would usually build it. I'm going to build this as a placeholder, and we'll circle back to it later to do it right. But since we've already covered a lot in this video, I don't want to make it longer. I'm just going to do a placeholder. Okay, so for a placeholder, I'm happy with this for now. This is not a good process because it obviously can randomly, there is a big chance that the more that this is used, that it'll give a identical ID to another product. So this is not optimal. We're just gonna add this in there. New project ID. Let's do this right. Okay. Okay, good. So just want to reiterate, this is a placeholder. It bothers the crap out of me. We're going to just go here and do Control Z. And let's just delete that. Good, okay. Alrighty. So yeah, we've got, oh, this is an important addition. So yeah, we've got this really terrible placeholder ID fetching function. So I think this is going to work. Let's just find out. Let's refresh. Go to product name. Yeah, test product. Description 1, and then we say we've got 11. Add product. Go here. Cool. So give it an ID of 71. that works for now. It shows the concept at least. Okay, so that's a wrap for episode 2 of Google Web Apps for Everyone. More videos to come. We're just going to keep building more. I don't know what yet. I'll have to think of what I want to tackle next and incrementally start building something kind of cool. So more videos to come. Thanks. Hope to see you there.